Shirley, how are you, darling? Sorry, I was talking to Vincy. I was trying to tell her about something right quick. My weekend was pretty good. Yeah, after Saturday, it was pretty good. Sunday was real nice. Monday was horrid. Monday was absolutely, positively horrid at work. But I still have a job, and I didn't get in trouble. It was just computer problems. So, how are you doing? How is the weather up there? We are starting Blackberry winter down here, so it's getting cold again, like the high in the 60s cold. Ditsy Lou Who, I just sent you a message. You don't have to read it now, you can read it later. It has to do with the series this book is in tonight. God, my glasses are so dirty. Does my hair look red on here? Because it's totally not red. Kind of reminds me of Sharon Osbourne before she let hers all go white again. Ladies, I made me some coffee for tonight because I'm cold. Yeah, it's here too, Shirley. The week before Easter was Dogwood Winter, which this isn't everything. Hey, Maria, how are you, darling? I am excited for this. While I'm thinking about it, let me ask you, how far do you want me to read, or what do you want me to read? Your chapters are really short. Normally, I say 3 chapters, but your first chapter is a page and a half. So, do you want me to just read for 45 minutes, or is there a certain place you want me to stop, start? What you got going there, Miss Maria? Hey, Vincy, get the name of your niece's doctor. I need to go have some liposuction done. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you didn't care if I went. I mean, if I get to a really good hook, I'll stop there. And these girls know I will, because that's what I do. But I'm loving this book. I'm about third of the way through it. Get out of here, Nat. So I did not even know this series existed. I just told Vincy to go check out this series, that we may need to find some more authors that we've never read before. Because don't get me wrong, romance is my number one genre in just about any form you want to put it in. I love me some romance. I am an HEA all day long. But I love me some crime too. And the way you've written this, oh my gosh, it is so adorable. I guess I don't know. It's not a I don't know if adorable is the right word. I just love the cuteness of it. Maybe there's a little tongue in cheek in that. I don't know, but I love it. So I'm gonna check out the rest of the series anyway. I might wanna Vincy, they've done this series. You know how they did the candy shop. Ebony and M's group did the candy shop and the cookie and the donut shop. Oh. But Maria, I like your writing too. I want to read some more of your stuff. I understand the series is each book's a different author, but I want to read some more of your stuff too. You're new to me, and I want to read some more of what you got out there. So I need to put you in my BFF pile. But yeah, I love this book. I love the rhyme. So, um, Vincy, this series is based on nursery rhymes, and then each author has a crime. Each author gets a nursery rhyme and writes a crime story around that nursery rhyme. Basically, is what it amounts to. You know, like the Donut Shop series was, and all those other things. But like I said, don't get me wrong, I love my romance, but sometimes you just get in those ruts, and it's like, okay, I keep reading different genres of romance, different subgenres of romance, like shifter or motorcycle or even the tropes, you know, best friend to lovers kind of thing. But sometimes I just want something completely out of the norm, you know? I gotta go down that different road sometimes. And it that for me that used to be the Stephanie Plum series by Janet Ivanovic. Oh, all right, you guys know who I'm talking about. I have a hard time with names, and but hers have gotten. I think she's running out of steam on the Stephanie Plum series because I couldn't even finish the last one, believe it or not, and I've never not been able to finish one of her books. It's just running out of steam, or maybe I'm just running. I've read so much that it's hard to wow me anymore. I don't know. Do y'all ever get like that? To where you read so much it's hard to go, wow, that'll work. Or seriously? You know, I just sometimes some of these books are like, okay, boy meets girl, they have an adventure, boy bangs girl, they live happily ever after. Exactly. And I think with the Stephanie Plum series, she's at that point. And I love Janet, but that one is just, and I've read a lot of her other books too. Um, Miss Shirley, are you Team Ranger or Team Maloney? Morelli. Morelli. See, it's been a while. Are you Team Morelli or Team Ranger? Me too, Vincy, and that's one reason I got into the indie world because there's so much different there. Hey, Ori. Oh, Team Ranger all day long, sister man. I could climb him like a monkey and just, or no, excuse me, we're talking about me. I am Team Ranger and I could climb him like a sloth because I can't do the whole monkey thing anymore. The sloth thing would be just mean. You'd have to peel me off of him. All righty, girls, let's get started. If you are here and you're not commenting and you need to comment, you need to go to just tap on the video. Tap one time on the video and it pops up the chat thing. Alrighty, so tonight's book is called Designer Assassin. And it's a Heels, Rhymes, and Nursery Crimes book. So, chapter 1. Now, this is a short little, I guess you'd call it a novella. It's only got 12 chapters and an epilogue, but it's like less than 100 pages. So, it's a short little book, but she packs a big punch in that short little book. So let's welcome aboard to our gang, Miss Maria Vickers, and I shall get started. And if you didn't check out the cover, go check out the cover. You can see it on all over Facebook, but especially on Mayonnaise Book Nook, you'll see the cover there. I love that cover. All right, so chapter 1. There was a small thrill that came out of squeezing the trigger of my rifle. Vincy, is the music okay? There was a small thrill that came out of squeezing the trigger on my rifle, of seeing the bullet land exactly where I wanted it to go, defying the laws of physics while I made the weather my lover, not my enemy. I was good at my job. Very good. And my clients paid handsomely for my services. My bullets never strayed, never missed, and were never found. Nothing could or would ever be traced back to me. Now my clients, if they fucked up, that was on them, not me. And if the world came crashing down around them, the police catching them, they couldn't give anyone my name because I was an enigma, a shadow. The only person who ever knew my true identity was dead. Mistress Black Sheep, have you any wool? The laughing voice said into my earpiece. Yes, sir, 3 body bags full. Such a shame. They bled all over the beautiful Italian marble. Can you make sure to clean that up while you're at it? I'm a cleaner, not a maid, he groused. I did so love taunting him, but he was the one who started it. I only knew him as Jeeves, which made my joke even funnier to me. Don't touch the 2 men, only clean the woman. She's in a different room to prevent the blood from commingling. We need someone to take the fall for this, and we don't want this coming back on the mistress. Do you have the documents I left for you? I do. Leave them where they can be found, but don't make it too easy for our police friends. They need to earn their paycheck. His laugh was rich and deep. Of course. If he didn't do his part, it was no skin off my nose. The wrong person might be implicated, but it wasn't going to be me. The call disconnected, and I disassembled my gun, placing it back in its case. This job was done, and the next, well, I had a show to get ready for. Holly, this draping doesn't look right to me, my assistant Sherry called out. My workshop was a madhouse. The Milan show was less than a week away, and nothing was ready, which meant my team was abuzz, trying to make sure my line was perfect for the big reveal. While I might assassinate the occasional person on the side, I was actually one of the top designers in the world. Designs by H. Honey was known worldwide, and my eyes just jumped. And many clamored to wear my clothes. No, it's not. I narrowed my eyes and studied the model wearing one of the 2 ball gowns I'd designed for the show. This dress wasn't fitted to this model. Where is the model we originally hired? I glanced around the large room, but I didn't see the person I was searching for. She was 2 inches taller with long, straight, fiery red hair. This woman had curly brown hair and a bigger forehead than the other woman. I didn't remember my model's names. That was usually pointless, but I always remembered who belonged with which dress or outfit. Everything was made to a specific model's measurements, and we had not been informed of the change. The clothes would be tailored and fit to another model, but the fact we had not been told was a problem. Nicole? The model questioned, her face scrunching unpleasantly into a frown. She was pretty, stunning in fact, and she would be an asset on the runway, but this green gown did not look right on her. The color was too yellow for her skin, and mixed with her brown hair and brown eyes, she appeared sallow. I glanced at Sherry. The pictures. She brought out all the Polaroids and flipped through them, finding the one we needed. As I thought, I had been correct. Yes, Nicole was her name. Yes, Nicole was her name, Sherry stated, meeting my gaze. I could tell it hadn't occurred to her that there had been a model switch, which annoyed me. Sherry normally spotted any and all issues, figuring out the answer before I found out there had been a problem. She had been slipping lately, though. Where is Nicole? I asked, and given how stressed I was a week prior to a show, I sounded pleasantly polite. Maybe I needed to go fire my gun again. Last night's contract was already long forgotten. The new model appeared slightly uncomfortable as she bit her lip and looked anywhere except at me. Well, I'm not sure. Spill it. I don't have all day, and I despise liars. I can't say. I was told she went away and that I needed to show up today for the fitting so I could take her place, she quickly shared. Lifting an eyebrow, I crossed my arms over my chest. Sherry, get Leo on the phone and get that dress off her. The color is all wrong. Switch her to the purple. The other outfits should be fine. Once again, I scanned the room, sizing up each model in there. Her. I pointed to a woman getting fitted for a black suit. Her copper tresses and pale skin would be perfect for the varying shades of green. She was shorter than Nicole, but we could work with it and make sure it fit perfectly. Plus, I knew she wasn't modeling any of the ball gowns. Get her fitted for the green gown. Unlike when I worked a side job, I was surrounded by people as a designer. During the week leading up to a show, it could be dozens or more. I like the solitude of Mistress Black Sheep, though. During those moments, it was only me and my gun. No one stood in our way. Nothing stopped us. And I didn't have to depend on anyone else, like Leo, the man who supplied me with the models I would be using for the show. As soon as Sherry passed me the phone, I put it to my ear. Where is Nicole? Holly, how are you? His voice dripped sweetness, but I wasn't fooled. Leo, I seem to recall I sent you a list of approved models. I had one show up today who wasn't on my approved list. Care to explain? I could easily picture putting a bullet right between his eyes. I wouldn't even need my rifle. I could do it with my pistol, close up, so he knew it was me, and I was the last person he saw or thought of crossing. Holly, Leo, I realize you own one of the top modeling agencies in Italy. I'm also fully aware that most of your models are highly sought after. What you must realize is that I could destroy you. I'm the top designer in the world. Models clamor to get on my runways, and I could make or break any one of their careers with nothing except a whispered word. I'd uncovered so much dirt on him, he could bury himself under the pile. As long as it didn't touch the models or my business, I could stay quiet for now. I could hear the leather of his chair squeaking, and his breathing had changed. I didn't think it was a hard question, but apparently he thought otherwise. Clearing his throat, he said, She left me a message this morning. She is eloping with Silvio. Now I understood the issue. Silvio was my ex-boyfriend. It had never been more than a business arrangement, but no one had figured that out. I see. And instead of calling me, you sent a replacement. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I easily imagined him squirming in his seat, wiping his brow before the sweat fell down his face. I'm sorry. Scusa, signora honey. Leo fluent in several languages, but when he was afraid of paying the piper, he always slipped into his native tongue Italian. We'll use her. I will pay her directly, and you will not be paid a fee for her. Ollie! Yes? He exhaled loudly. See, he grumbled his agreement. Excellent. Ciao. I hung up, preventing him from saying anything else, though I doubted he attempted to try. Turning to Sherry, I ordered, make the change I've already told you about. I pointed to the new model, will be taking Nicole's place. You got it. Sherry immediately agreed, a smile on her face because her mistake had been corrected and it benefited me quite nicely. However, I would be watching her because something was definitely off and I didn't like when things were out of sorts. 20 years ago, I was a different person. No, there was no tragic backstory. I still had both parents whom I couldn't care less about, still had a little sister whom I loved and adored, and like all teenage girls, I'd had my heart broken a million times. There was no one thing that made me who I am, or maybe there was. At 11, I'd been obsessed by our next door neighbor. I wished I had a neighbor I could obsess over. Actually, that wouldn't be a good thing, would it, girls? Those that know me well. I got enough obsessions going on with I had a next door neighbor. He lived in a grand house alone in a neighborhood where that wasn't done. Families, most of whom lived there for their prestige and bragging rights, surrounded him. It was a pretentious place just outside of Savannah, Georgia. Lawyers, doctors, heads of companies, old and new money, all wanted the right to buy a house in that neighborhood. He was the oddball in a sea of weirdness. Even as a young girl, I loved to draw. Bright and vibrant colors always made it into my drawings. And according to my parents, I was a little too colorful for them. They tried to tone me down. I'd rather wear a neon pink tutu than my school any day of the week. For those that can't tell, this hair is like fuchsia pink, but it looks red on here to me. Just saying. Light dull blue with drab khaki and brown loafers ruled me 5 days a week. But the moment I got home, I was running up to my room already and tucking my shirt to change into something more me. They couldn't make me gray or tan or whatever fucking color they were trying for. I was a rainbow of colors and would not be silenced. Throw in a little glitter and I'm happy. My sister Madison wanted to please my parents and did everything they asked until she found out the world was bigger than our house. College awakened her. Thank you, Nina. I love you too. My sister Madison wanted to please. Oh, maybe that was why the neighbor caught my attention. Like me, he was different and didn't fit into the social norm for that neighborhood. He never had anyone come to visit. He remained a loner and he did all of his own yard work, which properly scandalized my parents, who paid a premium for one of the best lawns on our street. Considering my father was the CEO of a Fortune 500 company and my mother was one of the most sought after neurosurgeons, they could afford it. I would peer through a hole in the fence that was hidden by some ivy and watch him. Sometimes he would set up a target, walk away from it, turn around, and shoot. At the time, I wasn't sure when or where he got that gun. It always had this long thing on the end and hardly ever made a sound. Of course, I never told my parents. No, I marched over to the neighbor's house and demanded he teach me how to shoot. It took a little convincing, including blackmailing him with what I'd seen, but he eventually gave in. Honestly, I think he just tired of me showing up at his door, at his house, and making a fuss. Later, I learned he was trying to keep a low profile. and he was an assassin. He picked the worst neighborhood for keeping a low profile, and I told him so. Laughing, he informed me he inherited the house from his grandfather. He became my best friend. Maybe at one point I might have had a small crush on him, but he didn't last long. In some ways, he was more of a father to me than mine since my parents could hardly be bothered. And my nanny would rather gossip on the phone than watch me when my parents weren't around. She was just there to collect a paycheck, same as the maid. Les taught me how to aim and shoot a variety of weapons. He also taught me how to use a knife in hand to hand combat. The one and only time a boy refused to take no for an answer and grabbed my arm, he got a lesson in manners. Too bad it was at school and my parents were called. No, it wasn't Theodore's fault. He was just teasing me. He didn't mean anything by it. I was the one who got into trouble because I broke his arm and kneed him in the crotch. I wound up suspended for a week and had to write an apology letter to Theodore, and my parents grounded me. I wrote the letter under duress, and the grounding didn't bother me because, other than Les, I had no friends, and he was gone for 2 weeks on a job. I was 16 and didn't care about dates or dances. Gossip gave me hives, and I thought most girls were insipid and stupid. The one thing I did care about was fashion. I loved designing new clothes and outfits, pairing colors and textures together that made a statement. My parents tried to take away my sketch pads and art supplies, but they couldn't take away my school supplies. I had paper, pencils, and pens. I didn't need anything else. When Les got back, I told him all about it. Part of me thought he would lash out and scold me as my parents had done, but he threw back his head and laughed. Good for you, he exclaimed, and rubbed the top of my head, messing up my hair. He made me feel accepted, like it was okay to be myself. A year later, he had to move, but he gave me a cell phone and a way to contact him. I kept that thing hidden from anyone and everyone under a loose floorboard in my room. Not even my sister knew about it. Hell, she only knew that I went over to hang out at the neighbor's house a lot. She had no idea what we did. The trees lining the fence obstructed the second-story view of the neighboring backyard closest to the house, so we were safe from prying eyes. Les continued to mentor me, helped me get my first job 8 years ago when he thought I was finally ready, and he played go-between for future jobs because he was getting older and couldn't handle as many assignments as he used to. At least he had until 2 years ago. Then something happened, and for some reason, the hunter became the hunted. He died on a job. He was the first person close to me who had ever died. I was in shock and couldn't quite wrap my head around it for the first few days after I saw his face plastered on the news in Paris. He'd been in the same city as me, and I hadn't had a clue. Normally, he called. He didn't call this time. No one was there to claim the body. He got no funeral or service. He went out alone, which is exactly what he told me to do if he was ever caught. Doing anything for him would have attracted attention I did not need in my line of work as an assassin. Silently, I mourned for him, wishing I could do more, and then I did what he would have wanted. I got another job and hunted for the person who killed him. A month ago, that man paid the price for taking someone I loved away from me. I was nicer than he had been to Les, too. Instead of 3 bullets, 2 that had missed vital organs but hurt like hell, I put 1 bullet right between the eyes, killing him instantly. Okay, I might have used a bigger weapon than necessary, and it might have caused a giant hole in the back of his head, completely ruining a Florence Knoll leather couch. Felt horrible about the couch. Les had encouraged me to go to design school, and when my parents refused, he found me a designer in France to study under. That had been the best decision of my life. My parents cut me off, but Les was there for me. He provided an apartment and gave me an allowance to live off of. Eventually, my parents reached out to me at the behest of my sister. They attempted to demand that I come home and go to college. I laughed and hung up. They tried again, this time saying they had someone they wanted me to meet. In other words, if they couldn't control me, maybe someone else could. My reaction this time did not change. The truth of the matter was, people were starting to talk, wondering where I was and what I was doing. They didn't want to admit that at 18, as soon as I graduated from high school, I ran away from home to Paris, France, and they hadn't seen me since. When I began making a name for myself, they tried to claim me, capitalizing on the fact their daughter was a famous designer, the same daughter they tried to squelch the creativity in. It was a wonder I hadn't attempted to kill them up to this point, but they were still my parents, had provided for me when I was younger, and treated my sister somewhat well. For that, they lived. Slowly, I came out of my reverie and memories to the loud hum of the room. So much had happened in 20 years, and sometimes I wondered where I would be if Les had not moved in next door. I was grateful to him for saving me, in a manner of speaking. I would have never survived in the stuffy lifestyle my parents attempted to groom me for. I could drive down memory lane later. Right now, there was too much to do, as always, never enough time. Glancing around, getting my bearings, I noticed Sherry on the phone with someone and acting suspiciously. If the fact that she had cupped a hand over the phone and her mouth hadn't given her away, her gaze would have. She darted her eyes around the room and kept looking over her shoulder, as if she was afraid to be heard or seen. Too late. The call ended soon, and she slid the phone into her pocket. Still looking elsewhere, she certainly was terrified of some. Still looking everywhere. She certainly was terrified by someone learning her secret. What are you hiding? I muttered under my breath. Chapter 4. The show was a success. Not that I worried about that. I knew everyone would love the designs, and that most, if not all, of the designs would be purchased straight from the runway. I didn't know why, but many loved to get the original, the one worn on the runway at a big show. And that was fine with me. They were sold at a premium, and it meant less for me to transport back to home to New York. Crawling back to my hotel room as the sun breached the horizon, I was both elated and exhausted. The show lasted a couple of hours, and the party lasted all night. I wasn't drunk and had only 2 glasses of champagne the entire night, choosing to keep my wits about me for various reasons. But I was buzzed from the energy of the night and the city. I closed the door behind me and sank into one of the chairs in the living room, grateful to be off my feet and alone. The silence was a blessing, and my friend. The silence was a blessing in my friend. I could think, breathe, and relax with only the noise from the city surrounding me as it came alive from the morning. Horns in the distance temporarily drowned out the squawking of the birds, and if I opened the window to my room, I knew I would already hear the chatter of people on the street. Not that I would be able to make out what they were saying. My thoughts drifted to Sherry. Tonight, she had a new man on, someone I didn't recognize. A sexy man who had the appearance of a model with his classic bone structure and build. Standing at 6'4", he towered over her, his tanned olive skin in direct contrast to her pale ivory. Had he been the reason for the secret phone calls and hushed conversations? I wasn't sure, because even tonight she looked stiff and on edge. The more my mind focused on them, the more confused I was. He had attempted to fit in and play the doting boyfriend. She forced her smiles and barely drank anything he gave her, setting it down after only a few small sips. He also approached me more than once, dragging Sherry with him every time. Was he trying to get my attention, hoping I would put him in one of my shows? I hated to tell him, but knowing my assistant wouldn't get a toe in the door. Any model who worked for me had to be at the top of their game and signed with the best agencies. Mediocre never appeared on my catwalk. Pulling out my secondary phone, the one I used for my other business, I clicked a few buttons and then did a search for his name. Giovanni Russo. Nothing pulled up. Interesting. I'd taken a picture and uploaded that, waiting for what the search would return. Sometimes it was instantaneous, and sometimes it took a while to track. This wasn't a Google search. This was better and the same software used by intelligence and law enforcement agencies all over the world. I leaned my head back as I patiently listened for the alert that told me Giovanni had been found. Closing my eyes, I thought about Les. If he had still been alive, he would be sitting in his favorite recliner, drinking his favorite beer, finally enjoying his retirement. My thoughts drifted to another man who I rarely allowed myself to think about. Short, wildly curly blonde hair and brown eyes that danced when he laughed. I met him in Paris and we fell in love. It sounded a little more than It sounded more than a little cliche. We had 3 weeks of bliss. Then he returned home, and I never heard from him again. I was a fashion designer on my way up the ladder of success, and he was a high school history teacher who loved his kids. Even in the short time we were together, I could tell he had a passion for the subject and could bring history alive. I saw the city through new eyes because of him. Elijah Mason had left a mark on my heart, and no one else could compare. That had been 8 years ago when I was only 23 and had just killed my second victim. My phone chimed and I picked it up from where it rested on my lap to review the findings. Very interesting. Giovanni Russo was really Garrett Redmond, straight out of Pensacola, Florida. A former model who never made much of anything of himself while in the fashion industry. Outside of it, he associated with some very powerful people, one of whom I knew to be a very expensive bodyguard who had been known to take a contract or two. So now I wondered why Garrett was at my party. Or maybe the question was, what did he know? I tapped on the screen and brought it to my ear, smiling as I anticipated the voice on the other end. Jeeves. Jeeves? Me? Oh, wait a minute. Jeeves? Me? Mistress Black Sheep, have you any wool? Not yet, but I might have 2 body bags full soon. How close to Milan are you? I could be there tomorrow. Perfect. I'll be in touch. Taking my other phone from my clutch, I swiped across the screen and sent a text to Sherry. Meet me at the workshop at 3 p. sharp and bring Giovanni with you. He inspired me and have something I need his measurements for. The workshop was in an industrial location, easy to clean, out of the way for the most part, and loud. No one would be any the wiser. Now, to get some sleep. Otherwise, my creativity would be sorely lacking. It's my usual old man voice because I don't know what Jeeves looks like. Several hours later, dressed in black leather, my black hair tied back into a high ponytail, I sat at a drawing table in the workshop waiting for my guests to arrive. I'd killed here previously. Owning the building meant there weren't as many eyes curious about anything I did there. I used it when I needed it, rented out a few of the spaces on the lower level, and had the top 2 levels all to myself to do with as I saw fit. The door slid open. and the two people I wanted to see appeared. Unbeknownst to them, as soon as they shut the metal door, I pushed a button so they couldn't open it. The entire room was soundproof, the windows had bulletproof glass, and no one could see in, only out. I'd planned for everything when I took over this building. It was something Les had insisted on when I chose to have a place in Milan, although he never quite understood why I would have a workroom but not an apartment. Hotel hotel living meant I didn't have to clean up after myself. Sounds like a girl after my own heart. So good of you to join me. Please have a seat. I gestured to the two chairs in front of my table. Both sauntered in as if they owned the joint. Gone was Sherry's nervousness. She seemed calm, cool, and collected. And Garrett had a swagger to his step. He reminded me of those men who thought they were God's gift to women, and he could wrap anyone around his little finger. If he only knew. Smiling, I walked around my table and leaned against it. I was the one in charge, not them. Did you have fun at the party last night? It was great, like always, Sherry declared, a little too enthusiastically. I saw a crack in her mask appear for a split second when she cringed slightly. Yes, I had a great time, Garrett said. I had to give him credit. For someone raised in Florida, his Italian accent was spot on. Oh, let me try that again then. Yes, I had a great time. Yeah, can't do it. I had known it was fake until I'd done a little research. I nodded once, my grin firmly in place. How did you and Sherry meet? I wasn't aware she was dating a new guy. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sherry stiffen, but Garrett remained calm and in control. We met shortly after she arrived here. I offered to show her around and she took me up on the offer. I apologize for keeping you two from each other, I said smoothly. It's all right. She told me she was here to work, but now that she is done, we plan to spend a little more time together before she has to go home. And I assume you'll be seeing her in New York, Garrett? His smile dropped. The muscles in his cheeks ticked. I struck a nerve. Let me pluck it some more. Sherry, will you continue to see each other in New York? I assume it's serious since you've never brought anyone to the parties. To one of the parties, I batted my lashes. As I spoke, Garrett's body tensed. His fingers curled around the arm of his chair, his knuckles whitening. I was prepared for anything he might do. I might have appeared relaxed, but that did not mean I couldn't act at a moment's notice. I was just as dangerous now as when I had my gun. We. Sherry tried to speak, but she only managed a couple of words. Her body was visibly trembling, and she shifted her gaze between Garrett and me. Interesting how neither of you corrected me or are trying to continue with the ruse that you are Giovanni, I stated, my smile dropping. The time for games had ended. I'm sorry. Sherry whimpered and shook her head. Garrett began to breathe heavily, and a sound later threw himself out of the chair, hurling himself at me. I waited until the last possible moment, then shifted to the left, thrusting my hand at his throat, the space between my thumb and index finger, briefly cradling the space. It wasn't a move that would kill him, but it would hurt like hell, and he might not be able to speak for a while. It didn't stop him. He tried to come after me again, and this time I had plenty of time to react. I tripped him and threw him to the floor. I didn't want to scuff him. I didn't want to cuff him or use anything that could leave any identifying marks just in case. Plus, I still had a few questions for him. If I were you, I'd stay down. My voice sounded cold and detached even to my own ears. He dropped, and I turned my attention to Sherry, making sure I kept him in my sights. I didn't trust him, and when the time came, he would die. What the hell have you gotten involved in? I'm sorry. I swear to God, if you say that you're sorry like some pathetic little bitch, I'll end you now. What the fuck did you do? Do you have any idea who that guy is? I noticed Garrett attempting to get up and kicked him in the balls, making sure he stayed where he was supposed to, on the cold concrete floor. Holly, you don't understand. I'm in a lot of trouble. Yes, you are. Now tell me what I need to know, or I'll kill you myself, I snarled. I didn't care who she was to me. I'd bury her in a heartbeat. My dad ran up some gambling debts. He borrowed money from the wrong people, and when they found out who I worked for, they said they would forgive everything if I got Garrett into the party and introduced him to you. Lies. What she didn't know was that I already had most of the truth. When she came to work for me, I put a bug on her cell phone, one that could not be easily traced, found, or disrupted. With each upgrade or new phone she got, I always made sure a bug was in place, forever recording everything she did or said. If she visited a porn site, I knew which videos she liked to watch. If she sent a text message to her family, I could read it word for word. And if she called someone, I could either listen in live or listen to the recording later. She'd been careful, though. Anything to do with Giovanni or Garrett, unless it was sweet talking, hadn't appeared on her phone. But after the party, the pattern changed. She mistakenly used her phone to call Garrett and attempted to call the whole thing off. They thought they could bleed me for information, find something to blackmail me. She wanted to start her own line and had acquired some of my drawings to pass off as her own, hoping that would get her foot in the door. I hated to tell her, but it wouldn't work. Every artist has a style, something that cries out that was designed by Holly Honey or whoever. I'd trusted her as far as I could another human being. Hell, I even liked her. For the last 4 years, she'd been an amazing asset and helped me to stay on top year after year. It would suck to replace her, but it had to happen. It's not, Sherry wailed. Shaking my head, I chuckled. I had so much hope for you, trusted you, and you want to throw it all away for a couple of my throwaways? No one will believe you created those because they were so vastly different from your other work, which is still subpar. Your father, really? You took time off last year for his funeral. I'm guessing that was a lie too, and you can't keep them straight? Here's a little hint. Don't lie, and if you do, keep it as close to the truth as possible. Where did you meet him? I thrust my chin toward the man still lying on the ground, holding his groin. He found me, she huffed, throwing herself back in the chair and crossing her arms over her chest. And how did you take him down? He has like special ops training. If he does, I'm sure he does. But I had a self-defense instructor who taught me everything he knew. I wanted to mirror her posture, but needed to remain loose just in case. I still don't trust Garrett. He could simply be bidding his time, and Sherry still wasn't showing all of her cards. How did you find him? Groaning, she finally said, a couple of months ago, he approached me at the bar. I'd been complaining to Tony about my career and how you wouldn't give me a chance. He came up to me and said he used to be a model and noticed me with you at a couple of shows. He claimed he could get some dirt on you and force you to give me a shot. I told him no, but I saw him a few more times and he finally convinced me. I didn't think she was completely truthful with me, but here was probably the most truthful she'd been since walking through that door. Leaning down, my face level with hers, I sneered. Leave. You're fired, and I will personally make sure you don't work in the fashion industry again. If I were you, I'd skedaddle as quickly as possible. What about him? Don't worry about him. I plan on calling the police and letting them take care of him. If you don't want the same, I suggest you leave now. You have 10 seconds. I straightened and stuck my hand in my pocket, releasing the door. I'd continue to monitor her, but for now, she was not a threat. The same could not be said about Garrett. The second the door slammed, I engaged the lock again and returned to my design table. I had my tablet there and could watch the monitor feeds to ensure she did indeed leave. Nothing on her phone, which it turned out she had two, but now both were bugged. I couldn't do something as in depth as with her personal phone, but it was amazing what I could do with technology and a scanner. She hadn't called or texted anyone. It was only a matter of time, though. If I found out she wasn't completely naive, I would take her out. Approaching the man on the floor, I stopped a couple of feet away, ready in case he struck out. Why did you approach Sherry at the bar? She was. Let me get that paint. Let me grab my junk here. She was pretty. Oh, please. You can drop the act. She may be a cute girl, but you're telling me out of everyone at the bar, she is the one person who caught your attention? I'd seen pictures of him with women and models. They were all tall, thin, had tits larger than his head. Sherry was petite with short pink hair, and she was lucky if she filled out a B cup. The pink caught my eye. I rolled my eyes. And let's talk about your special ops training. You can't throw a punch to save your life. Unless he was pretending, he had yet to land a punch. Anyone with any modicum of training would be able to do something against their intended target. Taking a risk, I reached for his back pocket when I saw his phone peeking out. Pressing the home button, I held it up to his face and unlocked it. Rookie move. Nothing in text, nothing in his call history alarmed me. It wasn't until I saw his pictures that I gasped. How do you know Elijah? He was the one who told me to contact you. I wasn't lying when I saw Sherry with you at a couple of shows. I'd been lucky enough to get in good with a couple of designers, but they never called me back. Elijah said that he knew you and that maybe you would give me a chance. I wasn't so sure. When I heard Sherry complaining, I thought if we blackmailed you, we could both get what we want. How do you know Elijah? I asked again, a little more forcefully this time, pulling back my foot as a threat. He's my older brother. We're half brothers. Our mom remarried. That would explain why they didn't really look alike to me. And you thought threatening me would work? People today were fucking idiots. Well, guess what? Now I won't use either one of you. I suggest you get the fuck out of my building or I will call the cops and have them deal with your ass. As soon as he left, I slumped in my chair checking his phone, Sherry's phones, and the camera. Garrett was nothing more than a kid at 21, and he ran so fast he tripped over his own feet and fell onto the sidewalk. Now he was in even more pain. I didn't know if I believed their stories, but for now, I would let it go and simply monitor the situation. The last thing I wanted to do was kill someone I didn't need to. Swiping and clicking on my phone screen, I sighed and waited for the line to be picked up. Jeeves, it's me. Mistress Black Sheep, have you any wool? No, sir, not today. I'll send the normal fee for one body and travel expenses. I stated and hung up. And I think I'm going to stop there. That's about, well, it says 26% of the book. So now we got to figure out what's going on. What's What's Sherry and Garrett up to? What's their story? Because do you believe everything they're saying? And why is Elijah being thrown into this? I mean, then Ori, go buy it. Get off your tight little ass and go buy it. You got the money, honey. You got money to waste on silly things like that you bought today. You can go buy you a book. And if you're nice, go buy the books. And I might finish reading for you too. You too. All right, everybody. So this is Designer Assassin, and it's part of the Hills, Rhymes, and Nursery Crimes series. This is book 12. So there are 11 books before that, and she said there's 2 more books coming. Right, Maria, did I say that right? It's the book is 99 cents on Amazon, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. If you have that and don't have 99 cents in your pocket to go buy it, tomorrow night. What am I reading tomorrow night, y'all? I done forgot. I think it's another new to me author. Told you guys this book was good. Oh, is tomorrow another book? No. Yeah. No. I know, right, Miss Shirley? I like it with the. That's the reason I was like, okay, it's not really funny as in comedy, but it's kind of got some tongue in cheek with the nursery rhyme part. Okay, so tomorrow the last book comes out, and then there's a whole nother series, part 2, and the series 2 comes. Okay, I got you. Nina, quit running everybody off. I ain't done talking yet. Of course, I want news. I love. Give me some juicy gossip. While she's typing in the juicy gossip, tomorrow night is Beth Hildenbrand, and it's The Path of Temptation. So we need to read that. Ooh, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Ooh, I like it. I like it. I like it. You're in series 3. Series 2 ain't come out yet. Good gracious, girl. That's 2 more years before I got to read that. But I am going to get I'm going to get the rest of them. Oh, snap. You go, girl. All of a sudden, I have this picture of Miranda Lambert in my head. Damn. All righty. So, everybody be back here October 22. Okay. That's still a year away. It's practically 2 years away. It's a year and a half. Okay. So, everybody come back tomorrow night for Beth's book, The Path of Temptation, and we'll see what we're getting into there. I'm going to go check out all these hills, and I love power women. I get girl boners when I got women in power around me. Alrighty. Thank you so much for letting me read it, Maria. As soon as I read what it was about on when you posted, you or whoever it was that posted in the book nook, I was like, oh my gosh, Vincey, I got to read this. Vincey is my go-getter, And Nina is my little force behind the scenes that does all the legwork from there. So, Vincey's the one that's my recruiter that's out and about trying to round everybody up. Although Nina does her fair share, but Vincey's the one I send out. I send out all the time. So, all right, everybody, I'm gonna go rest my throat, drink the rest of my coffee, so I can pee in the bed tonight and have all that fun stuff. I'm gonna go see if we're losing tonight's game like we did last night. Go Braves! Oh, we gotta win a game. Oh, I'm gonna be reading some more of your books, so don't worry. It may take me a little bit. Don't get me wrong. Miss Shirley, are you laughing because I might pee the bed? You think I'm joking? It's a good thing I don't sleep very deep, or I probably would. But Maria, I will be reading some more of your books, darling. Don't you fret. I'm going to be. It just may take me a little bit because my to be read list could fill up this room. It's like 10 by 10, 12 by 12. I don't know what this room is. But anyways, it could fill up this room. It is unbelievable. And the books I've started and not finished for various reasons, not because they're all bad, but just a whole bunch of other various reasons. Yeah. So, all righty. So let's get going. And I'm going to go. It's supposed to rain tonight, I think. So I'm going to go get ready for bed. Work comes early in the morning, y'all. Have a good evening and happy reading. Go buy the book.